Okay, okay. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Can you confirm that everything is working properly? Just to control that the audio is arriving. Yeah. Thank you, Bo. Thank you. Okay, I'm very excited for this live that actually started in a completely random way because, as I said in the on YouTube, I wrote a couple of posts. This Friday, it was not supposed to be a live because I had prepared some, in my opinion, very excited videos. One about Italian Australians, uh, another about the Italian Navy. Then I'm working on a very in-depth, multiple video program about the catastrophe of Italian demography. But basically, I have an editor who is a lovely guy. I work very well with him, but he's from Pakistan. He's Muslim, and so he was in Ramadan, and for a week he was not available. So my videos were ready but not edited. So I was like, I don't want to just leave the channel for 2 weeks. And my idea was to was to I said to myself, okay, let's try a live, because at the end of the day I was thinking that this channel, like the thing that excites me the most about this channel is the stories of the people who watch my videos. They're really incredible. They inspired me a lot. They also changed my views in many aspects about the Italian diaspora, Italian migration in general. And there are such amazing comments about the family stories, about people who have Italian origin and their families came from maybe some small little village in Italy. And I was like, okay, let's try the first live to see if someone wants to share via our chat some of their stories, because I think it might be very, very, very exciting. We reached more than 3,000 subscribers, and I have to say that I'm really proud of our community, because I started this in a the people in the chat that know me know very well that I started this in a very difficult period with two young kids, lot of problems. So this journey of YouTube takes a lot of time and effort, but it's worth the time and the effort. Producing these videos is hard, but it's really like reading your stories is really inspirational and amazing. It's the most beautiful part of the channel. There are many people who, by watching these videos, really felt a connection with Italy. And I have to say that I think there were no such channels on YouTube at the moment, because as I told you guys in many of my videos, in Italy, people don't care about the Italians who left the country, the families who left the country 150 years ago, the so-called Italian diaspora. In Italy, we don't care about many things. This is another point of my channel that I talk about very often. But specifically, in Italy, we don't know anything about the many families that left our country in order to go to the Americas, to Australia, and to many other parts of the world. And there are millions of people. And so I want to reconnect with these people. The main focus of my channel is I mean, it is dedicated to you guys. Then I also talk about other topics, but the main focus of my channel is to reconnect with the sons and daughters of the Italian diaspora. So in the meantime, while um, I am introducing this topic in the chat, even like writing three, um, 4 lines. Tell me your stories. Some of these stories I know them because your comments were so amazing that I got to know you. And there are some subscribers that are so uh, passionate about the channel that they follow me so thoroughly, and I'm so proud of this. There are certain days that I'm like, okay, I worked the entire day. I have the kids. Life is a mess, and I have zero energy to produce the videos, but I'm like, these people deserve it. So really, please tell me something in the chat, something about your story, when your family left, um, where your family originally came from in Italy. When did they where and when did they settle in these countries of the Italian diaspora? We already made a lot of videos about many countries of the Italian diaspora. United States, of course, and United States, there is a lot to cover. I have so many videos that I want to make, and I will make them. Canada, fantastic video. Argentina, Brazil. Now I'm producing Australia. Italians, especially in between the second part of the second part of the 19th century, first part of the 20th century, went everywhere in the world. So many different places, and so we have so many stories. And again, it's such I so I told this in many videos, especially in the video about Argentina. Is such a is such a terrible mistake, and it's also incredibly sad that both the Italian society and also the Italian government, which is just a reflection of our society, does not give a damn of our people, because this is our people who went on the other side of the world, because they are in part still Italians. And when I started this journey, honestly, I was like, yeah, but for example, people who Italians who have been in Brazil for like 150 years, they're not Italians by any means. I was like, no, they just have last names, but they're not Italians. But by making this video about Brazil, for example, that went incredibly well, I did not expect this. There were so many people that were like, Luca, you're making a terrible mistake. We still feel so much connections with Italy that you have no idea. The food, the way we dress, the way we talk, we still speak our dialect from our region of origin in Italy. And I actually, this channel changed my mind a lot about many things. And I think this is positive when you always have to maintain a open approach to things. So I am finding out that so many people are still not terribly, sorry, amazingly connected with my country, which as you I see some friends in the chat. The people who know me very well, they know that I am extremely patriotic, that I love my country so much, and I'm happy to see all these Italians that went all across the world. We should reconnect with them for so many reasons. Also, I didn't touch this topic before. I want to touch this topic, and then I'll read the messages of all the people, and thank you so much that are writing their stories. Uh, in my two families, there are so many people that emigrated. Some of them I somewhat reconnected even very loosely during my lifetime. For example, on my mother's side, my mother's mother, they were quite affluent, and they were originally from Rome, and people from big cities did not emigrate. It is very rarely rare to find people who emigrated to, I don't know, America or Argentina from big cities of center north Italy, such as, I don't know, Rome, Florence, Milan. It's extremely unlikely. But for example, on my beloved, he passed away 10 years ago, and he was an incredible person. On my mother's father's side, Gino, who's and you can see his father, my great grandfather, here in the background. They were from Abruzzo, from the province of Teramo in northern Abruzzo, from an amazing and beautiful village in Abruzzo called Civitella del Tronto. And some of this family, they immigrated to New Jersey. We When my grandfather was still alive, we tried so bad to reconnect with these people in New Jersey. And you know that New Jersey is like Italy in the United States. But unfortunately, we know the people who emigrated, we know their names, but his last name was extremely common in central Italy, and there are hundreds of thousands of people with this last name that I'm gonna write in the chat. That was often misspelled, and this last name is Di Luca. Sorry, Di Luca, or depending on or the pronunciation, De Luca. And so I didn't manage to reconnect with these people. But for example, on my father's side, I have, which is my father is half from Calabria in the deep south of Italy, and half from Tuscany. On my father's side, that many people emigrated. Many emigrated to Canada, and in fact, I know because I met them a couple of times in my life that there is a branch of my father's family that is in Toronto. If there is some Canadian, you know that in Toronto not only are there a lot of Italians, but specifically Italians from Calabria, and I have a lot. Their last name is Lombardo, which is a typical name from Calabria. Um, and another branch of my father's family also emigrated to Argentina, which, um, as I explained in the video regarding Italian Argentinians, Argentina is the country in the world, the only country in the world outside of Italy where Italians are the majority of the population. And there are so many Italians in Argentina that you have no idea. So this is about my family, and I wanna read your stories because they're very interesting. Vidrios. Acqua Pendente, incredible. So your family is from a city that I know very well, which is not far from Rome. It's like 50 kilometers far from Rome. Um, and So tried to get a job in his field in IT, but ended up returning in New York in 50s, 60s. Yes, many people did not settle permanently. As I said in many videos, the idea was to go back to Italy. But at the end of the day, depending on the country, many people decided to settle permanently. I know this city, Acqua Pendente. Uh, in general, now unfortunately, I couldn't set up OBS so that I could also share maps and images, but next time I'll do it. You have to imagine that Italian immigration was a national phenomena that regarded both southern and northern Italy, and not exclusively southern Italy as many people think. But if we have to choose a part of Italy from which immigration was less strong, is central Italy. So regions like Latium, which is the region of Rome, Tuscany, Umbria, Marche. These were the regions in which people emigrate from which people emigrated a little bit less often compared to southern and northern Italy. Let's see, boys from Alabama. Alabama, as Italian Americans know, is not a state in which you can find many Italians, because Italians in the United States tended to emigrate, especially in big cities, with the exception of California. And I dedicated a video about California. That video, I was very sorry that didn't go as good as other videos about Italian immigration that I produced, because I think it was very interesting. But with the exception of California, Italians went to the United States in big cities, especially in construction and things like that, factories. So in Alabama, there is a very, very, very low percentage of Italian Americans. Uh, Melinda, thank you so much for following me, because you don't have an Italian American heritage, but you are one of my most loyal subscribers, and I really, really, really appreciate so much what you're doing for the channel. And say hello to your coworker. Then let me know in the comments in the following days where your coworker is originally from. And greetings to Filippo from Istria. For people who don't know, I wanna also make a video about this. Istria is a region, a cross-border region between northeastern Italy, so the region of Veneto, Friuli, Venezia Giulia, and Slovenia and Croatia. This land has always been more of Italian culture and language than Croatian or Slovenia. But for many historical reasons, at the moment, it's part of a little bit of Istria is with the Slovenia. Most of it is with Croatia, but most people have Italian last names, and many of these people emigrated to the United States from Istria. For example, there is a very, very famous Italian American presenter and TV personalities that maybe some of you know, called Joe Bastianich, whose family is like he owns restaurants. He's like an Italian master chef presenter. He makes like advertising, does advertising with for McDonald's in Italy, and his family is originally from Istria. Grace Rosella, you are also an incredibly loyal subscriber, so thank you so much. You are from Abruzzo and Basilicata, and they emigrated to Australia in the 1960s. Grace, believe me, the video about Italian Australians that I put so much effort into, it's ready. I'm just waiting for my editor to edit it. It can be next Friday, it can be in 2 Fridays, but it will definitely come out. And please spread the voice, because this is a video that I made a lot of research. I also in the video there is also an interview by an Italian Australian professor who is famous because his field of research is specifically in Italian Australian history. So I know very well the story of people who emigrated from Italy to Australia in the 1950s and 1960s, which is much later than the normal people who emigrated with the Italian diaspora. For example, in the United States, the peak of Italian immigration was at the beginning of the 20th century, but Italians, on the contrary, emigrated to Australia in general much later. But I'll talk about it in this video, and thank you so much. Another person from Istria, I have always videos from Pirano, Istria, came to New York in the 60s. He had a tough life. Yeah. And there are many Istrian people in New York. Bo, what are you saying? Came back from Catanzaro in Calabria, and then settled in Massachusetts, and 7 kids. Good old times. One of the I'm preparing a lot of videos about the catastrophe of Italian demography. Many of you know that in Italy we're not having kids anymore. Italy is literally dying. And when I read that people back in the day had 7 kids and now they have 0, so very different. But people from Calabria, again, a quarter of my blood is from Calabria. My last name, Coniglio, which literally means rabbit, is from Calabria or Sicily. There are 2 branches of this last name. And people from Calabria emigrated a lot, especially to the United States and Canada. If you go to Brazil and Argentina, there are more people there are more people from northern Italy. Filippo is telling me that he's from Istria. Yeah, I know, from Trieste. Trieste now is in Italy. It's a beautiful city in Italy, but Istria is literally there. It's 1 kilometer away. Nicola, known as RMO, my dear friend, he's a perfect example of the typical Italian emigration to Brazil that I dedicated a very nice video that went very well. The people who emigrated to Brazil were 90%, 95% from 3 regions. First and foremost, Veneto. Second, Lombardy. Third, Romagna, Emilia-Romagna. All this region, unfortunately, now I cannot share the map. Otherwise, I would have showed you. All these regions are in northern Italy. Now, the thing is that today, in 2025, um, Northern Italy is by far the richest part of the country. Lombardy, Veneto, Emilia-Romagna are the richest regions of the country, whose GDP is superior to the European average. But back in the day, especially Veneto, this in the late 1800s, early 1900s, these regions were extremely poor, and they emigrated. Then watch the video if you're interested in the topic. They specifically emigrated to Brazil and second Argentina. It is very, very, very unlikely to find to find an Italian American who's from the north, because people, basically the pattern was this: people from southern Italy emigrated to North America, people from northern Italy emigrated to South America. Imagine like a cross. Okay, this was the pattern, with many exceptions, but this was the pattern. um Anta, I'm Italian. I'm from Italy, but I guess I'm one of the few that find these stories of our diaspora fascinating. Yes, we are among the few. Italians, sorry for the word, Italians don't give a shit. Italians completely erased the memories of their grandfathers, great grandfathers who emigrated to other countries. We are completely ignorant about this topic. We don't even see them as Italians, and we tend to see them as a little bit like ridiculous, like old style. We don't have a good we kind of ignore them, and we when we meet them for some random family meeting across the Atlantic, we look at them as like weird people who think that Italy is what today is not anymore. But I am an historian of immigration, so of course I'm interested, and I want to bring these things to light. This is the main idea of my channel. Which again, I'm sorry, I'm not complaining, but just I just want to tell you that it takes a lot to produce these videos, because YouTube, there is everything on YouTube. You can just explode a bomb into a Coca-Cola can, and then you make 2 billion views, and it doesn't take a lot. But when you do this kind of videos with the historical research, it's not easy. It's not easy. Okay, Lucchese, father from Pisa, via Trapani, which is a city in Sicily that I know extremely well, Bergamo and Polenis. A lot of Istrians, mothers from Lucca, immigrated to Wisconsin in 1950s, studies in Pisa, now live in San Francisco, 2 kids, both US and Italian citizens. This is such a great story. Again, Tuscany is an amazing region in central Italy, the birthplace of Italian language and many other things. But Tuscany is a region that did not have a lot of immigration, so it's fairly rare to see people who emigrated from Tuscany. It's not impossible, of course, because all Italian emigrated, but Tuscany not a lot. Interesting that your family emigrated in the 1950s to Wisconsin. There is an Italian community in Milwaukee. It's not as big as Chicago or New York or San Francisco or whatever, but there is an Italian American community in Milwaukee. Again, for the United States, it's very rare, but not impossible, to see families who migrated after 1922, when the US basically closed the Italian immigration, closed the doors to Italian immigration. There are still such stories, but 95% of Italians who emigrated to the United States went between the 1880s and the 1920s. But this is an amazing story. Now you live in San Francisco, and you guys have both citizenship. This topic of citizenship now is changing. Now will be much harder for people of Italian descent to get the Italian citizenship. This is another topic that I have changed my mind a lot throughout my voyage with the channel. I was extremely against people who maybe were born in Brazil from great grandfathers who emigrated in the 1820s, because I thought they had zero connections with Italy. But thanks to the channel, I changed my mind. I still think we have to regulate and limit the possibilities, because in some cases these people just they get the citizenship, but they don't know anything about Italy. But I realized that these people, you guys, can be such a tremendous resource and an asset to a country like Italy. But this is a big topic that I wanna maybe we can do another streaming talking about this. Brothers of Santa Maria Goretti emigrated. Yes, Santa Maria Goretti is another story, important Italian American that I wanna cover in one of the videos. Anta, I am from Italy, but we stayed abroad for a few years. We return almost immediately to Italy. Perhaps this is the reason why. Yeah, absolutely. You have a different perspective. Melinda says that she went to school with the okay, okay. Yeah, Lucchese is from Brescia, an important city in the eastern part of Lombardy. Bo, despite being from Alabama, has one quarter of Italian blood, which again is very rare. And he says he said that you love all these Italian dishes, and I understand. My dear friend Nicola is saying that he has. Of course, because I think this is your mom, Nicola, because I know your family, because people from the south emigrated a lot to Canada. I made this video, so from to Toronto and Ottawa. Of course, in Toronto and Ottawa, there are many Italians. In Toronto, there are certain neighborhoods that are the vast majority of the people are of Italian descent. I remember when Italy miraculously won the Euro Cup in 2021 in Toronto. It was like Rome. So many people celebrating. It was amazing. Adam Morassutti. I'm from Toronto, and my grandparents came from Friuli. That's and Puglia. In the 1950s and 60s. Thank you for your video on the Italian immigration to Canada. No, thank you for watching. That's an interesting story. Canada is another country like Australia in which not all, but most of the Italian migration happened after World War II. In fact, one of the points that I touched in my video about Italian Canadians, and I think that you, Adam, are no exception, is that if, and I don't want to generalize, but Italian Canadians have very strong ties with Italy. First, because they emigrated later compared to Italian Americans, but second, because because Canada is a very extremely multicultural country, so you can maintain your culture in a much easier way compared to the United States, which is a dominant empire that prefer to assimilate people, that want in general, the US wants people to forget their homeland and become exclusively American. This is an important topic, and maybe we can go in depth another time. Samuel Calzada. Hello, my middle name is from Bartolini. You are from the Philippines. For people who don't know, in Italy we have a huge huge community of people from Philippines, especially in big cities, Rome and Milan. There are hundreds of thousands of people from Philippines. Unnaturalized Canadian during the Spanish colonization. Definitely, few Italians came to my country as missionaries. Absolutely, absolutely. This is a story that I want to cover. Missionaries went to the far east of Asia, including Philippines. Absolutely. Dagodino, father immigrated from Puglia, grandparents and mother from Sicily. Are you from? Are you Italian American? Because looking at your story, I imagine that you are Italian American. Boy is Istrian. Sassoferrato, Sharon, if I'm not mistaken, Sassoferrato is in Umbria region. Let me check. I think it's a small village in Umbria. Sasso or Marche region. I think Marche. Yes, Marche. Yeah, again, Marche is another region of Italy that was not the focus of Italian immigration, but more than Tuscany. There were more people. My friend Cosimo is saying hello. Vescov is the family name. Yeah, this is a typical name from central Italy. Italy has this characteristic that is kind of unique in the world, even compared to other neighboring European countries. We have an insane amount of last names. You have no idea how many last names we have. And they're all specific from different villages and cities. Then, of course, some of these last names, because of the Italian internal migration, now you can find them a lot. For example, the most famous Neapolitan last name, Esposito, you can find it now a lot in northern Italy, because in northern Italy there was an insane immigration from southern to northern Italy. But there are so many last names in Italy that you have no idea. It's incredible. For example, in Spain and Spanish are brothers. They're still Latin, Southern European people, but they have like not a tenth, like an incredibly inferior amount of last names compared to us. Okay, Adam, his mother, okay. Lydia, yeah, you're talking about Joe Bastianic. Marco Crivelli, prof di qualcosa su questo decreto le... Yeah, Marco in Italian is asking me about this law that limits the citizen by descent. But this is a topic that I wanna maybe cover specifically in another video. Basically, before this new law that was just passed last week, even if you had an incredibly distant and loose connection with Italy, like your great grandfather, you could still claim Italian citizenship if you could prove it. Now, I think it's limited to your grandparents, so it changes everything. But again, I wanna touch this in another video or another live. Then Tandis or Tundis, oh my god, you have no idea. Then this is insane, because my family is from this my family in Calabria. Part of my family in Calabria then is exactly from this village, Guardia Piemontese in Calabria. It's insane. That's incredible. I can't believe it. This is an incredibly small village in Calabria, and we originally come from the same village. We still have family there. However, the ones in the US, including myself, are mostly living in Southern California. So I hope you watched my video about Southern California. And again, I was very disappointed because, of course, videos can go bad, but that video, I didn't expect it to go bad, just 1,000 views, because there were so many interesting things for Italian Californians and Italian Americans in general. But it's insane. I know this village very well, Guardia Piemontese. That's incredible. The connections that you have for for between people from other countries is incredible. Thank you guys. 36 people is amazing for this live. And if you can, I never ask for money, but if you can just leave a coffee and €1, I appreciate, because I wanna tell you the truth. The editing cost of my videos, so the amount of money that I have to give to my editor to produce my videos, 9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10 don't cover even the editing. The money that I earn from you watching, 95% of the times does not even cover the editing cost. I'm being really honest. So most of the times I spend money to produce videos of YouTube, but it's fine. Just so if you can leave a euro to donate is to continue producing these videos, I would be incredibly grateful. Okay, okay. These there are. I wanna say hello in Italian to some of my students that I am very still attached with. Un saluto immenso ai grandi Filippo e Nicolò. Vi mando un abbraccio fortissimo. Grandi. I know I'm not gonna speak about Norway because one of my students are asking me to speak about Norway because my wife is a Norwegian. But I will speak about Norway because for the entire Easter vacations, I will be in Norway to visit her family. So I will. Oh, thank you so much, Vidrios. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much, guys, for the donations. I really appreciate. Keeps me going. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it so much. Uh, okay, let me go. Okay, Melinda, your co-workers are from Sicily, Verona. So Sicily and Verona and Trento are in the far north of Italy. It was an Italian company. Then you can tell me something about this company. Anta, the Australian episode is arriving. I swear. It was supposed to be here this Friday. My students are asking me things in Italian to make me laugh. They ask me what do I think of Greta of Ciao Alessandro, grande numero uno, of Greta Thunberg, but that's for another video. My Italian ancestors came from Milan, Samuel Calzada, as a deacon in the Philippines. And okay, that's an incredible story. Sharon, they came from Mark and started out in Pennsylvania before moving to New Mexico. Pennsylvania is full of Italians, especially eastern Pennsylvania, the Philadelphia region. New Mexico, probably they moved after their first settling in the US, because in New Mexico there are very few Italians. Matthew, ciao Luca, I'm from Toronto, Canada. My mother was born in Matera before immigrating to Canada, but came from Friuli. Yeah, I'm telling you, Toronto, there are so many Italians, guys. I see that there are a lot of Toronto Italians from Friuli, which is in the far northeast of Italy. And normally people from Friuli did not emigrate to Canada, but to other parts of South America. But I can see that there are many. Thank you, Adam. Angelo, my grandfather was from Calabria. He was married with 2 kids in Italy when he left in 1917. This is the typical date. So early 1900s, and he changed his last name on it and had 4 kids. California, it is not like there are not as many Italians as you might find in New York, in New Jersey, in Massachusetts, but there is a solid community. Again, if people did not watch it, watch the video. There are very interesting things. Ciao Diego, grandissimo, grandissimo. Un saluto alla terza B, ragazzi. Non sapete quanto mi manca questa classe, non avete idea, veramente. Angelo, it took me 10 years to get my Italian citizenship finalized, planning on retiring in Italy. Yes, Angelo, please retire here. We have many retirees here in Italy because we are the oldest country in the world, but we need people like you with your big American pensions to be investing in the Italian economy. Uh, working in Rome, and I had colleagues from the states of Australia with Italian grandparents. They came here to visit hometowns. Interesting. Thank you, Lucchese. Thank you so much. And thank you, Melinda. Thank you immensely for the donation. Thank you so much. Alessandro Bozza, what do I think about pizza? I love pizza. I know you are Napolitan. So, Greta Thunberg, you know that I don't particularly like Greta Thunberg. You wanted me to tell this, and I will. Cosimo, another of my dear friends, I know that parts of his family emigrated. I think was at CEO something, CEO Tom. They emigrated. Uncle Tom emigrated to Pennsylvania, and now he's telling me something that I didn't know, that another branch of his family emigrated to Venezuela. In Venezuela, there is a considerable amount of Italians. Maybe people don't know. Spot on the comparison, Adam, the US and Canada. My American cousins who settled near Cleveland use the language and keep the culture much less. Yeah, that's almost always true. Not 100%, because there are many hardcore Italian Americans, but again, first of all, Italian Americans emigrated much earlier, but also the American culture tends to erase, to level down your culture of origin, because they are a dominant empire in the world and they need people to be exclusively loyal to the United States. Canada, they don't give a shit. Canada is I don't want to offend Canada because I love Canada, but the Canadian identity is very extremely mild. Like, it's hard to touch. Okay, so it's normally. Diego is asking me, is Retegui Italian? Retegui is a football player from our desperate soccer football national team. Retegui, his great grandfather went to Argentina from, I think, Calabria, so he can play with the Italian football team. I have nothing against this. My problem with Retegui is that in Italian we say è una pippa, is not a good player. But if you guys are up to date about the Italian football / soccer team, is not anymore the great team that we used to have. We have a terrible team, by the way. I could make a video about this. What do I think about Italy losing to Germany? That we have a terrible team, so it's absolutely natural. Okay, greetings to my friend Nicolaus, who was very inspirational to me, that is going back to his home in London. I hope the decree on citizenship will be revised. I think regulations should take in consideration. Okay. Yeah, I understand. Matteo, my grandfather migrated from Lago Languido to Posillipo. Ciao Matteo, un abbraccio. That's a very interesting story. That's a very Lago Languido. Yeah, I know they were from the north. Yeah. Yeah, then it's incredible. That's the same village, Guardia Piemontese. When I was very young, I went there every summer. That's insane. Woolwich, your work is excellent, insightful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Ciao Alessandro, ti saluto. Ciao. Larry Docimo, maternal grandparents from Veneto, immigrated to Detroit. Very rare occasion. Paternal from Calabria and then to Chicago, and this is super common. Super common. Hello Alessandro, I'm saying you hello. videos. Eastern grandmother was born in Rio de Janeiro before the in Brazil. There are millions of people from Veneto and Friuli. It's incredible. Larry, I'm an Italian citizen, always funny when in the event, and they are perplexed how I can be half Calabrian. Southern bigotry is strong. Yes, it is. Thanks a lot, Dan, for the donation. Melinda, aerospace company. Okay, maybe it can be Leonardo, maybe. Ciao Sara, ciao, grandissima, ci vediamo presto. I am sure the Australia episode will be worth, I hope so. Matthew, in Canada, we liken our culture makeup to mosaic separate but distinct cultural communities. America prefers the melting pot metaphor. Yeah, America is a multi-ethnical nation, but absolutely not a multicultural nation. Actually, there is one culture in America. Cosimo, and then I wanna close the streaming because I'm finishing the voice. Cosimo, yes, my parents were from northern to Pennsylvania, e ci sono but very interesting. Yeah. My friend in Italian is telling me that parts of his family, I think from Sicily, they emigrated to Pennsylvania. Okay, guys, we are close to 1 hour, and I have to say that this streaming, thank you so much, went way beyond my expectations, because I think we have a very, very, very vengo, Nicolo, vengo, a very loyal community, people who watch every videos, not the number of subscribers, and I'm very happy with my subscribers, is important, but not all subscribers are the same, and you guys are very, very, thank you, Julia, thank you so much, and you guys are very loyal subscribers, so I really, really, really appreciate this means the world to me. I will say this the last time. Takes a lot of time and effort to produce these videos, but watching these reactions is really, really incredibly important for me. Thank you so much. See you in the next videos. I will try my best to produce one video a week, but with this kind of videos, certain times it's impossible. This time it was not because the video was not ready, but um, um, because I had this problem with the editing. But sometimes I won't be able to produce a video a week, but please stay connected, and thank you so much.